Alright. FCAT. It's the word that makes everyone never happy.
And you're done.
Good job.
You good?
You should give me a short.
Alright. FCAT. It's the word that makes everyone moan or joke about how pointless it is. But did you know that the Stanford test exam comes with a booklet describing how to handle a situation if a student vomits or has a mental breakdown during a test? That's a little extreme compared to the FCAT, but 68% of residents of Florida agree that the FCAT is taken away from a child's education or isn't challenging them properly. The FCAT isn't the only standardized test out there. That's something that you guys might be familiar with. There's older brothers, if you will, like the ACT and SAT, which high school students have to deal with. But we're going to focus on the elementary aspect of standardized testing. Coming to the Florida education system, I was here since I was about 5, and I've been through all like the different learning processes. And if any of you guys have been here, they do almost like a drill and kill process, where they just drill what's on the FCAT, which is reading and in math, and they just put it in your head, and that's all they focus on leading up to the test and then after. I'm not against all forms of standardized testing, just a majority. They really have the power to be great benchmarks to show statistically where students stand in early grades. But the state is not using them to the full advantage, and instead of excelling children forward, it's holding them back for a lot of times due to just bad test taking or just nervousness or some things like that. So what we're going to go over is the 3 main problems: is the amount of money it takes to put forward standardized testing, the subjects it covers, leaving out the other 2, and the drill process that the teachers use. We're going to look into standardized testing because the problem here is when it comes to the FCAT, teachers tend to only focus on math and reading. These are the 2 main subjects, and they're going to focus on these because if the student passes or fails, that depends on if the teacher teaches enough a year. Only focusing on these 2 subjects leaves out important ones like history, science, language, other things that the child really needs at an early age. Actually, there's a statistic. It says the tests are drastically narrowing the curriculum. A national 2007 study by the Center on Education reported that since 2001, 44% of school districts have reduced time spent on science, social studies, and the arts by an average of 145 minutes a week to focus more on reading and math. Well, it's good that they're focusing on these 2 main subjects. It's limiting what the child's learning at an early age. But some can argue that reading and math are the only 2 subjects needed early on because it helps grow the child's brain the fastest at an early age. How do we fix it? A teacher can teach to help learn a child instead of just having where they show them how to bubble in and answer correctly or fill out their name properly. One way to improve the test system is to have it where standardized tests are still important, but not so important where you can have straight A's but do very badly on a reading FCAT and be held back for another year. One extreme example is Finland, which actually tops the national rankings on learning. From 2001 to 2008, they don't even use standardized testing at all. Instead, they achieved using assessments that encourage students to learn, think outside the box, analyze, and use problem solving. It's a little extreme of a process, but there's a happy medium in eliminating and still using them properly. The next problem we'll go to is the material isn't the only problem because it's also a burden on the taxpayers. Texas spent $15 million in 2003 just on tests, and that's gone up by 60% since then. Florida's estimated about $15 million over Texas, so we're roughly spending $180 million a year on standardized testing. That's coming out of the taxpayers, and it's actually making a big deficit in what is moving forward. By cutting the number of tests a year, it helps these students. It gives them breaks as long as on the people's pockets too at the same time. The last problem is what we went over is the drill and kill process. China is very known for this. The statistics will help shed light because excessive testing teaches children to take a test, which is what China drills into their students. But it doesn't prepare them for productive adult life. Chinese schools are very good at preparing their students for standardized tests. For that reason, they fail to prepare them for an education in the outside world. They're actually backing off this approach because they've fallen drastically in the education standards, moving from 2nd to 12 in the world rankings. we shed a light on a couple of the main problems. We'll try to come up with some possible solutions. So say we get teachers to teach what they're supposed to, tests are gone, and students are just living a good life. What happens? Even with all these goals accomplished, it's hard to say what's going to happen because they haven't been at this point. But small studies have shown that getting rid of state benchmark tests, or at least limiting them to once per year, has increased these students' grades by 65%, bringing D's to B's, B's to A's, and so on and so forth. So hopefully I give you guys a pretty decent understanding on what the standardized test is looking like right now. But if you want to make a difference, if you care or not, you can contact your local state representatives, superintendents, or you can just go to your child's teachers and talk to them and voice your concern. Hopefully it doesn't affect any children to a significant point, but it is, because there are problems in it that need to be addressed that haven't been at this point. But it looks like it's going to be some time until testing is done away with, but remember, there's always other options when it comes to the child, such